Breaking news: crisis in the Strait of Hormuz. Overnight, a region that many had never heard of became the epicenter of global anxiety. The world awoke to a situation that threatened not just one nation, but the entire international community. Global headlines flashed red as dawn broke, with urgent alerts dominating every major news outlet. The words, Strait of Hormuz, trended worldwide as journalists scrambled to keep up with the rapidly unfolding events. Ships attacked in the Strait of Hormuz. Flames and smoke billowed from massive oil tankers, sending shockwaves through the world's energy markets. Oil prices surged to levels not seen in years, as investors and governments alike braced for the economic fallout. The narrow waterway, responsible for a fifth of the world's oil supply, was suddenly a flashpoint. Newsrooms scrambled, cameras rolled, and the world held its breath. Every update was met with anxious anticipation as people everywhere tried to understand what this crisis meant for their daily lives. The narrow waterway, a name most people seldom heard, was suddenly at the center of global attention. The scene was tense. Naval patrols scanned the horizon and ship crews watched the waves with growing fear, uncertain if they would be the next target. On TV, urgent voices explained how a handful of incidents had brought world trade to a halt. Oil tankers burned, insurance rates for shipping skyrocketed overnight. Financial analysts debated the long-term impact, while markets reacted with fear and volatility. Political leaders spoke of red lines and military options. Emergency meetings were called in capitals around the world as governments weighed their responses and considered the risks of escalation. Social media buzzed with shaky footage of smoke rising from giant ships. Hashtags spread rapidly, and millions watched live as the crisis unfolded in real time, fueling both fear and speculation. Families worried about gas prices, watching as numbers at the pump climbed higher by the hour. Everyday life was suddenly touched by distant events, as the cost of transportation and goods threatened to rise. Businesses braced for more costs. Small business owners checked their financial reports, wondering how long they could absorb the increases. Office workers discussed the crisis over coffee, uncertain about what the future would bring. The Strait of Hormuz was no longer just a spot on the map. It was a crisis everyone could feel. Crowds gathered around public screens watching the news with anxious faces. The pressure was on, and the world waited for answers. The United States called for friends and allies. They wanted help to secure this vital route, emphasizing the need for international cooperation to keep the world's oil flowing and prevent further chaos. One country, however, delivered a surprising answer. As the world watched, the crisis in the Strait of Hormuz was just beginning to unfold, with consequences that would ripple far beyond its narrow waters. In Manila, government officials faced the cameras, their expressions serious and determined. The world was watching as they prepared to deliver a message that would ripple far beyond the Philippines' shores. The message was clear, direct, and firm. There would be no ambiguity in their words or intentions. The Philippines announced it would not be sending military forces to join the US-led mission in the Strait of Hormuz, a region currently fraught with tension and uncertainty. This decision came at a time when the US was seeking broad international support to ensure the security of vital shipping lanes. The announcement sent shockwaves through Washington and surprised many observers around the globe. For decades, the Philippines has been seen as a reliable partner in American security efforts. Behind closed doors, the decision was debated at length. It was not made lightly or without careful consideration of the risks and responsibilities involved. The United States had hoped for a united front among its allies, especially in such a critical region. American officials were counting on the Philippines to stand alongside them. The US wanted ships, personnel, and visible support from all its partners to send a strong message of unity and resolve. But the Philippine government took a hard look at its own national interests, weighing the potential consequences for its people and its military. They considered regional stability, domestic priorities, and the possible risks of involvement. For years, the Philippines has been a close ally of America, bound by treaties, shared history, and countless joint operations. Joint drills, defense agreements, and a long tradition of cooperation have connected the two nations, making this decision even more significant. Saying no was a big deal, a rare move that caught many by surprise and sparked intense debate both at home and abroad. The decision sent a powerful message, not just to the United States, but to the entire world. It signaled a new level of independence in Philippine foreign policy and raised important questions about the future of alliances in a changing world. Why would a trusted partner step back now, at a moment when the stakes seem so high? What does this mean for the balance of power in the region, and for the long-standing relationship between the Philippines and the United States? The world is watching for answers. The Strait of Hormuz is just 21 miles wide at its narrowest point. This slender stretch of water, nestled between Iran and Oman, might seem insignificant on a world map, but its importance cannot be overstated. It is a natural choke point, a gateway connecting the oil-rich Persian Gulf to the open seas, and ultimately, to the rest of the world. Despite its narrowness, the Strait of Hormuz carries more than a fifth of the world's oil supply. Every single day, millions of barrels of crude oil and liquefied natural gas pass through these waters, making it one of the most vital arteries of the global economy. Massive tankers, some longer than football fields, carefully navigate the tight channel, forming a steady convoy that never seems to stop. These ships transport fuel from the Middle East, home to some of the largest oil reserves on the planet, to countries across Asia, Europe, and beyond. When trouble hits here, the effects ripple across the globe. Oil prices can skyrocket overnight, shipping costs surge, and uncertainty spreads through financial markets. Even a brief disruption can send shockwaves through economies everywhere. Even countries thousands of miles away from the Middle East feel the impact. People worry about filling up their gas tanks, and families brace for higher energy bills. Long lines at fuel stations and rising costs become a reality, even in places far removed from the strait itself. For some, it's a matter of money, balancing budgets and keeping businesses afloat. For others, especially in developing nations, it's about survival. Reliable and affordable energy can mean the difference between progress and hardship. This waterway is not just important, it's absolutely essential. It is the pulse of the world's energy supply, a critical link in the chain that keeps economies running and societies functioning. If the Strait of Hormuz were ever blocked, millions of barrels of oil would be trapped. Factories would slow or halt production. Airplanes would sit idle on runways. Everyday people would pay more for everything, from groceries to electricity, as costs ripple through every sector. That's why the world watches every move in the Strait of Hormuz so closely. It's not just a regional concern, it's the heartbeat of the global economy, a lifeline that connects us all. The crisis did not come out of nowhere. In recent weeks, explosions rocked oil tankers, drones buzzed above, hinting at attacks. The cause of each incident was debated, but the effect was clear. Fear. Insurance companies quickly raised their rates. Sending a ship through the strait now cost much more. Some companies even refused to sail those waters at all. Traders watched, worried about losing billions. Oil prices jumped overnight. The world economy, already shaky, braced for more shocks. Governments warned their citizens to expect higher energy bills. Every new attack brought headlines and panic. It was a risky moment. Leaders knew one wrong move could light a bigger fire. The tension was not just military, it was economic and personal for billions. The United States did not want to face the crisis alone. Officials reached out to allies across the globe. They asked for ships, surveillance, and troops. They said the world must protect the world's oil. Some countries sent help. Britain and Australia offered ships. Japan sent planes for patrols. Others, however, hesitated or stayed silent. Their leaders faced tough questions at home. Was it worth the risk? Did they have the resources? The US hoped for a strong show of unity. They wanted to send a message. We stand together. But the reality was mixed. Some joined, others declined. Each partner had their own reasons. As the list of helpers formed, one absence stood out: the Philippines. Their decision made the headlines. The Philippines' refusal was not just about distance. Manila leaders explained their thinking. First, their military is stretched thin. Most equipment is old. Many troops are needed at home, not far away. Second, the Philippines faces its own threats. In the South China Sea, tensions with bigger countries are already high. Pirates threaten shipping lanes close to home. Natural disasters also demand military help. Third, the country's geography matters. The Philippines is an island nation. Protecting its own waters takes priority. Sending ships halfway around the world isn't easy or wise. Last, the government said its first duty is to Filipinos. They must focus resources where they matter most, at home. For the Philippines, security at home always comes first. The nation faces typhoons, earthquakes, and local insurgencies every year. Each crisis demands soldiers and supplies. Sending forces to the Strait of Hormuz would leave gaps. Who would help if a storm struck? Who would defend their own islands against intruders? The risks were just too great. Leaders also worried about public opinion. Many Filipinos felt that faraway conflicts were not their fight. Why spend money and lives abroad, when needs at home are urgent and real? This thinking really shaped the final answer. The Philippines could not afford to take chances with its own safety. The United States sees alliances as a web of shared duties and mutual responsibilities. They expect friends to step up, no matter where in the world the problem is. Global security, they say, is everyone's job and shared burden. For the Philippines, survival means something else entirely. Their map is full of risks, storms, pirates, and powerful neighbors. Their military is small, their resources limited. Each choice must truly count. This difference leads to tension and misunderstanding. The US hopes for support, but the Philippines must put its people first. It's not about loyalty, but about survival and protecting lives. Both countries value their friendship deeply. But when crisis hits, their interests do not always match perfectly. Alliances are important, but they are not simple. Each country has its own problems and priorities. When a partner says no, it may sting, but it's part of the real world. The US must balance its global goals with the limits of its allies. The Philippines must defend its own shores before helping overseas. This does not end the friendship. It actually makes it more honest. There are lessons here for all countries. Global partnerships are only as strong as each nation's ability to help. In times of crisis, self-interest often comes first. Clear talks and respect for each other's limits keep alliances strong, even when opinions differ. The Philippines refused to join the Strait of Hormuz mission, and the world took notice. Their reasons were clear: resource limits, local threats, and the duty to protect their own people. The US and the Philippines still value their long alliance. Both know friendship is built on respect and understanding, but each country must make hard choices in a crisis. In the end, alliances must fit reality. The Philippines said no, not from disloyalty, but self-preservation. The message is simple: partnership matters, but home always comes first. Both countries will move forward, together, but also apart when needed. That's how strong partnerships survive the storms of a changing world.